This movie tried to appeal to mass audiences, and especially parents stuck in the theaters watching them. This is why many animated movies and children's films sneak in adult jokes to please older audiences. Sometimes they push the boundaries a little too far with innuendo, crude remarks, and things you wouldn't expect in PG-rated content.
What? She's looking again. Close it up. Tightly. Poke me again.
Space Jam. If you want to find a film which represents the 1990s at its core, then Space Jam it is. From the rocking soundtrack, cameos from Bill Murray, and a who's who of NBA stars from the decade, it represents everything great from the time. The film is teamed up with the Looney Tunes with Michael Jordan as they had to face off against the evil alien team known as the Monstars. The Monstars obtained all of their skills from real NBA players. When those players can't compete on an NBA level, they see doctors and undergo multiple tests to see what the issue is. As Ewing lays down in a therapist's office, parents may raise their eyebrows at the question he has asked.
Are there any other areas besides basketball where you find yourself unable to perform?
The therapist wants to know about his performance not only on the court, but off the court, and specifically in his home life. If Daffy Duck was in the room for this scene, his eyes would probably bug out of his head. Luckily, most children missed the little gag, and the scene quickly ended. Children watching the film probably had more questions about the seductive Lola Bunny than any scenes with Patrick Ewing.
No, dead broad off the table!
Where are we supposed to put it? The bed's taken.
Huh? What?
Shrek. With a voice cast featuring the likes of Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, and Cameron Diaz, you know Shrek was bound to feature some adult-oriented one-liners and gags. The film does not disappoint. Early in the film, we are introduced to the main villain of the story named Lord Farquaad.
Lord Farquaad?
The name may seem a little unusual at first, but if you say it 3 times fast, the origins of it will become apparent and pretty offensive to some. It's pretty surprising a name like this got pushed through a PG rating, as it's pretty obvious the film's creators chose this name for a reason. Lord Farquaad is also the butt of another joke later on in the movie. When Shrek and Donkey arrive at his castle, they can see how tall he built it.
Do you think maybe he's compensating for something?
On the surface, it may seem like he's talking about his height, but just like Shrek's onion analogy, there are multiple layers to this joke. As a reboot to the Shrek franchise is currently being planned, you know there will be more hidden jokes hidden throughout this film.
Why can't you just stay away from her?
Monster House. In the 2006 film Monster House, there are a lot of jokes and plot elements which may fly over a child's head.
Well, Dad, why don't you kiss my hairy butt?
Some references to the 1980s, sight gags, and even the whole plot involving a dead wife whose soul overtakes a house and starts terrorizing the neighborhood. The whole house itself is a huge part of the film's plot and story, making it an essential aspect to the characters' explorations. As they discover different body parts like the tongue and heart, the creative team managed to sneak in a little joke about confusing body part names. While the characters are sitting in the throat of the monster house, Jenny points out the hanging light fixture is actually the home's uvula.
If those are the teeth, and that's the tongue, then that must be the uvula.
Confused by the name, Chowder determines the house must be a girl because only females have uvulas. It may take a few moments to realize Chowder is referring to a much different body part with a very similar sounding name. It will take children several years and a few health classes to pick up on the clever joke and reference to the female anatomy. The gag was a great way to ease the tension and intensity featured in the scene.
Oh no!
101 Dalmatians. Disney is currently enjoying the major success of live-action films based off of animated hits like Beauty and the Beast, The Jungle Book, and Maleficent. Years before this trend, 101 Dalmatians was ahead of the game as a live-action version of the movie hit theaters in 1996. Not only did the movie feature the charm of the animated original, but it added a little racy flavor of its own to the evil villains, Cruella de Vil. Played by Glenn Close, she really makes the villain come to life and was one of the biggest highlights of the film. Early in the film, Cruella visits with Roger and Anita to find out they are both pregnant and having a baby of their own. Cruella can't help herself as she exclaims to Roger,
You have been a busy boy.
that's right, Cruella not only made a sex joke in the PG-rated film, but she inferred that Roger impregnated both Anita and her dog Perdita. Yikes. The shocked and grossed out look on Roger's face probably matches a lot of parents' looks as they hoped their children didn't analyze the joke too much. You would think the bestiality jokes would be more suited for the live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast.
I admit that in the past I've been a nasty. They weren't kidding when they called me, well, a witch.
The Little Mermaid. Back in the 1980s and 90s, animators weren't aware of the modern technologies we would have today, making it easy to pause movies and go frame by frame. The closest thing to stopping scenes would be the blurry and unreliable VCR. This allowed artists to sneak in little details and Easter eggs that would take viewers years to discover. One of the more controversial and debated moments took place during the climactic moments in The Little Mermaid. After Ursula transforms herself into a human, she tricks Eric into marrying her instead of Ariel. While all eyes should be on the wedding couple, you can't help but notice how excited the priest is to perform the ceremony. The scene has been analyzed by many viewers, with some claiming it's just his knee and others claiming it's another body part not typically suited for a children's movie. Either way, Disney ended the dirty debate by completely re-editing the scene and removing anything which could be deemed inappropriate. All new digital and Blu-ray versions of The Little Mermaid feature a cleaner print, but you can still see the original through uploaded clips or by purchasing old VHS tapes of the classic film.
Hello, everyone.
Muppet Treasure Island. For years, the Muppets have always built up the love story of Miss Piggy and Kermit. It was a true tale of opposites attract as the Muppets allowed their love to blossom through television shows, movies, and a number of animated specials. Fans of the two always assumed Miss Piggy only had love for Kermit, but the whole theory was thrown out the window when Muppet Treasure Island was released. The live-action film starring Tim Curry and the Muppets stays true to the original story while also infusing a little Muppet fun. During one point in the film, Miss Piggy starts bragging to Kermit about all of the pirates that she's been hooking up with. Naturally, this disturbs and upsets the shy Kermit and causes tension between the two. Things only get worse when Long John Silver approaches. Miss Piggy admits to having a relationship with him and takes it even further by putting an emphasis on the
Oh no, him too?
We all know the pirate treasure she's referring to when talking in that manner. Dirty little piggy. The joke was pretty risque, but if you look back at the history of the Muppets, it's pretty par for the course when it comes to pushing the limits and telling crazy jokes.
Yeah! You don't see that on Animal Planet.
Madagascar. The Madagascar franchise is about as family-friendly as they come. Cute animals, secret agent penguins, and a lot of goofy comedy have helped make the whole franchise a huge success. The comedy is pretty broad, appealing to all types of viewers, but the animators did manage to sneak in an adult joke for the first film. When you have a voice actor like Chris Rock, you know he's gonna try and infuse a little of his natural, vulgar language into the dialogue. Rock voices the role of Marty, a zebra who happens to be best friends with a lion named Alex. When Alex starves for food, he envisions all the different ways he could eat Marty and often chases him during this psychotic state. At one point in the film, Alex chases Marty down a beach. The scene plays out in slow motion as Marty utters the words,
"Oh, sugar honey iced tea."
Clever adults may put together the first initial of each word to discover it spells a curse word not fit for a PG film. Who can blame the guy though? When you're getting chased by a starving lion, it's only natural to scream out a few cuss words every now and then.
Pushy, lazy, bossy, inconsiderate, nosy, good for nothing, busybody. Why can't you listen to me?
The Rugrats movie. For children growing up in the 1990s, your daily television viewing probably included at least one episode of Rugrats. The creative show featured great plots, funny moments, and memorable characters like Tommy, Chucky, Phil, Lil, and Angelica. Fans of the series got even more excited when the Rugrats movie was officially released in 1998. The show always featured some pretty great jokes and gags aimed at adults, and the movie also delivered with a few risque jokes of its own. Within just the first few minutes of the movie, viewers are treated to a song from babies at a hospital nursery. One of the lines has a baby looking at his missing umbilical cord and complaining about it getting cut off. Another baby then looks inside of his diaper and says, "Consider yourself lucky." That's right. The Rugrats inserted a circumcision joke into the first act of the movie. What made the joke even funnier is it is actually a part of the song in the movie. Thankfully, The World Is Something New to Me didn't quite catch on like Frozen's Let It Go, or else children all over the world would be singing about the post-birth medical procedure.
Oh, God.
Mrs. Doubtfire. Mrs. Doubtfire may have been rated PG-13, but when it was originally released in 1993, there was plenty of children watching the movie in theaters and renting it at their local Blockbusters. Robin Williams' cross-dressing nanny is filled with all kinds of hilarious gags, awkward situations, and funny moments. There are a few swears in the movie, but overall the language is pretty clean. A large majority of the movie is appropriate for children, but there are some scenes which may push things too far.
Ooh, by the looks of you, that water's so cold.
This is especially true when Robin Williams is constantly trying to push his ex-wife's new boyfriend, Stu, out of their life. One of their key confrontations comes during a large family dinner scene. While dressed as Mrs. Doubtfire, Williams whispers things to Stu to try and scare him away. One of the jokes involves Miranda's use of a power tool in the bedroom. While children may picture a chainsaw or drill, adults know exactly what they're referring to, and the look on Stu's face helps piece it together. For many children, it wasn't until years later that they could really process what the joke meant and understand a little bit more about the brilliance of Robin Williams' raunchy comedy.
You pet him, yeah, and I'll...
The Road to El Dorado. DreamWorks Animation worked hard on creating the adventure tale known as The Road to El Dorado. The film follows friends named Tulio and Miguel as they search for a lost treasure. The movie wasn't a box office smash, but has gained a ton of fans throughout the years. The more people see the movie, the more they start to question a scene involving Tulio and his love interest, Chell. With just a backdrop behind them, the characters can be heard making all kinds of noises inside a bedroom. As another character walks by, they are interrupted and pop up from the scene. While many children may assume that they were just smooching, take a closer look at where their bodies actually popped up. Tulio's head is too far to the right of the screen and Chell's is more to the left. This suggests the two are doing much more than simple smooching. This moment comes after several other scenes of build-up and angst between the two characters. If DreamWorks was trying to make an impact on the animated world with this release, then they certainly knew the right way to get attention from adults. The noises alone were enough to push the limits, and the animations after took it to a whole other level.
Models popping bottles.